And howdy, everybody. Welcome to the word number 231. Howdy, Glenna. Howdy, Lena. Leno. Leno. That. All right. We are continuing in Jubilees, chapters 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. That's right. Okay. I'm reading from here, pseudopigraphia.com/Jubilees. You can go there if you want, or you can follow on the screen. These two are using books. These are like things with flaps on the front and paper in the middle. Okay. But as usual, let's go ahead and pray in, and then we'll get rolling. Father, thank you very much for allowing us to continue on in the book of Jubilees. We would just ask again that your spirit of knowledge and discernment, wisdom and understanding be poured out on everybody here now or in the future, and in the future, and heal those that are around us, in our group or in the families or households of those with us, and just let them know that your hand is the one providing the healing and well-being. Bless you. Thank you. We love you. In Jesus Yeshua's name. Amen. All righty. Oh, yeah, that's right. Jubilees, chapter 11. I knew it was something that I was trying to remember. Okay. I got my controls mixed up. All right. We want that with this, and there we go. Jubilees, chapter 11. And in the 35th Jubilee, in the third week, in the first year thereof, Reu took to himself a wife, and her name was Orah, the daughter of the son of Kesed, and she bare him a son, and called his name Sero, in the 7th year of this week in Jubilee. And the sons of Noah began to war on each other, and take captive, and to slay each other, and to shed the blood of men on the earth, and to eat blood, and to build strong cities, and walls, and towers. And individuals began to exalt themselves above the nation, and to found the beginnings of kingdoms, and to go to war, people against people, and nation against nation, and city against city. And all began to do evil, and to acquire arms, and to teach their sons war. And they began to capture cities, and to sell male and female slaves. And the son of Kesed, built the city of Arah of the Chaldees, and called the name after his own name, and the name of his father. And they made for themselves molten images, and they worshipped each the idol, the molten image which they had made for themselves, and they began to make graven images and unclean simulacra, and malignant spirits assisted and seduced them into committing transgression and uncleanness. And the prince Mastema exerted himself to do all this, and he sent forth other spirits, those which were put under his hand, to do all manner of wrong and sin, and all manner of transgression, to corrupt and destroy, and to shed blood upon the earth. For this reason he called the name of Serug, for everyone turned to do all manner of sin and transgression. And he grew up and dwelt in Ur of the Chaldees, near to the father of his wife's mother, and he worshipped idols, and he took to himself a wife in the 36th Jubilee, in the 5th week, in the first year thereof. And her name was Milcah, the daughter of Caper, the daughter of his father's brother. And she bare him Nahor in the first year of this week. And he grew and dwelt in Ur of the Chaldees, and his father taught him the researches of the Chaldees, to divine and augur according to the signs of heaven. In the 37th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in the first year thereof, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Ijaska, the daughter of Nestag of the Chaldees. And she bare him Terah in the 7th year of this week. And the prince Mastema sent ravens and birds to devour the seed which was sown in the land, in order to destroy the land and rob the children of men of their labors. Before they could plow the seed, the ravens picked it from the surface of the ground. And for this reason he called his name Terah, because the ravens and the birds reduced them to destitution and devoured their seed. And the years began to be barren, owing to the birds, and they devoured all the fruit of the trees from the trees. It was only with great effort that they could save a little of all the fruit of the earth in their days. And in this 39th Jubilee, in the 2nd week of the 1st year, Terah took to himself a wife, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Abram, the daughter of his father's sister. And in the 7th year of this week, she bare him a son, and he called his name Abram, by the name of his father and of his mother, for he had died before his daughter had conceived a son. And the child began to understand the errors of the earth and all that went astray after graven images and after uncleanness. And his father taught him writing, and he was 2 weeks old. And he separated himself from his father, that he might not worship idols with him. And he began to pray to the Creator of all things, that he might save him from the errors of the children of men, and that his portion should not fall into the error of after uncleanness and vileness. And the seed time came for the sowing of seed upon the land. And they all went forth together to protect their seed against the ravens, and Abram went forth with those that went. And the child was a lad, 14 years. And a cloud of ravens came to devour the seed. And Abram ran to meet them before they settled on the ground, and cried to them before they settled on the ground to devour the seed, and said, Descend not, return to the place whence ye came. And they proceeded to turn back. And he caused the clouds of ravens to turn back that day 70 times. And of all the ravens throughout the land where Abram was, there settled there not so much as one. And all who were with him throughout the land saw him cry out, and all the ravens turned back, and his name became great in all the land of the Chaldees. And there came to him this year all those that wished to sow, and he went with them until the time of sowing ceased. And they sowed their land, and that year they brought enough grain home and eat and were satisfied. And in the 1st year of the 5th week, Abram taught those who made implements for oxen, the artificers in wood, and they made a vessel above the ground, facing the frame of the plow, in order to put the seed thereon. And the seed fell down therefrom upon the share of the plow, and was hidden in the earth. And they no longer feared the ravens. And after this manner they made vessels above the ground, and on all the frames of the plows, and they sowed and tilled all the land. According as Abram had commanded them, they no longer feared the birds.
Chapter 12. And it came to pass in the 6th week, in the 7th year thereof, that Abram said to Terah his father, saying, Father, he said, Behold, here am I, my son. And he said, What help and profit have we from those idols which thou dost worship, and before which thou dost bow thyself? For there is no spirit in them, for they are dumb forms and a misleading of the heart. Worship them not. Worship the God of heaven, who causes the rain and the dew to descend on the earth, and doeth everything upon the earth. He hath created everything by his word, and all life is from before his face. Why do you worship these things that have no spirit in them? For they are the work of men's hands. And on your shoulders do ye bear them, and ye have no help from them. But they are a great cause of shame to those who make them, and misleading of the heart to those who worship them. Worship them not. And his father said unto him, I also know it, my son, but what shall I do with a people who have made me to serve before them? And if I tell them the truth, they will slay me, for their soul cleaveth to them, to worship them and honor them. Keep silent, my son. lest they slay thee. And these words he spake to his two brothers, and they were angry with him, and he kept silent. And in the 40th Jubilee, in the second week, in the 7th year thereof, Abram took to himself a wife, and her name was Sarai, the daughter of his father, and she became his wife. And Haran, his brother, took to himself a wife in the 3rd year of the 3rd week, and she bare him a son in the 7th year of this week, and he called his name Lot. And Nahor, his brother, took to himself a wife. And in the 60th year of the life of Abram, that is, in the 4th week, in the 4th year thereof, Abram arose by night and burned the house of the idols, and he burned all that was in the house, and no man knew it. And they arose in the night and sought to save their gods from the midst of the fire. And Haran hastened to save them, but the fire flamed over him, and he was burnt in the fire. And he died in Ur of the Chaldees, before Terah his father, and they buried him in Ur of the Chaldees. And Terah went forth from Ur of the Chaldees, he and his sons, to go in the land of Lebanon, and into the land of Canaan. And he dwelt in the land of Haran, and Abram dwelt with Terah his father in Haran 2 weeks of years. And in the 6th week, and in the 5th year thereof, Abram sat up throughout the night on the new moon of the 7th month, to observe the stars from the evening to the morning, in order to see what would be the character of the year with regard to the rains. And he was alone as he sat and observed. And a word came into his heart, and he said, all the signs of the stars and the signs of the moon and of the sun are all in the hand of the Lord. Why do I search them out? If he desireth, he causes it to rain morning and evening. And if he desireth, he withhold it. And all things are in his hand. And he prayed that night and said, my God, God most high, thou alone art my God, and thee and thy dominion have I chosen. And thou hast created all things, and all things that are the work of thy hands. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits, who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God, and establish thou me and my seed forever, that we go not astray from henceforth and forevermore. And he said, shall I return unto Ur of the Chaldees, who seek my face, that I may return to them? Or am I to remain here in this place? The right path before thee prosper it in the hands of thy servant, that he may fulfill it, and that I may not walk in the deceitfulness of my heart, O my God. And he made an end of speaking and praying. And behold, the word of the Lord was sent to him through me, saying, get thee up from thy country, and from thy kindred, and from the house of thy father, unto a land which I shall show thee. And I shall make thee a great and numerous nation. And I shall bless thee, and I shall make thy name great, and thou wilt be blessed in the earth. And in thee will all families of the earth be blessed. And I shall bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And I shall be a God to thee and thy son, and to thy son's son, and to all thy seed. Fear not, from henceforth and unto all generations of the earth, I am thy God. And the Lord God said, open his mouth and his ears, that he may hear and speak with his mouth, with the language with which hath been revealed, for it had ceased from the mouths of all the children of men from the day of the overthrow of Babel. And I opened his mouth and his ears and his lips, and I began to speak with him in Hebrew, in the tongue of the creation. And he took the books of his fathers, and these were written in Hebrew, and he just transcribed them. And he began from henceforth to study them. And I made known to him that which he could not understand, and he studied them during the 6 rainy months. And it came to pass in the 7th year of the 6th week, that he spoke to his father and informed him that he would leave Haran to go into the land of Canaan to see it and return to him. And Terah his father said unto him, go in peace, may the eternal God make thy path straight. And the Lord be with thee and protect thee from all evil. And grant unto thee grace, mercy, and favor before those who see thee. And may none of the children of men have power over thee to harm thee. Go in peace. And if thou seest a land pleasant to thy eyes to dwell in, then arise and take me to thee, and take Lot with thee, the son of Haran, thy brother, as thine own son. The Lord be with thee. And Nahor, thy brother, leave with me till thou returnest in peace, and we go with thee altogether.
Okay. Chapter 13. And Abram journeyed from Haran, and he took Sarai his wife and Lot his brother, Haran's son, to the land of Canaan. And he came into Asher and proceeded to Shechem and dwelt near a lofty oak. And he saw, and behold, the land was very pleasant from the entering of Hamath to the lofty oak. And the Lord said to him, To thee and to thy seed will I give this land. And he built an altar there, and he offered thereupon a burnt sacrifice to the Lord who had appeared to him. And he removed from thence unto the mountain, Bethel in the west, and Ai on the east, and pitched his tent there. And he saw, and behold, the land was very wide and good, and everything grew thereon, vines and figs and pomegranates, oaks and ilexes and terebinths and oil trees, and cedars and cypresses and date trees, and all trees of the field. And there was water on the mountains. And he blessed the Lord who had led him out of Ur of the Chaldees, and had brought him to this land. And it came to pass in the first year, in the 7th week, on the new moon of the first month, that he built an altar on this mountain, and called on the name of the Lord. Thou, the eternal God, art my God. And he offered on the altar a burnt sacrifice unto the Lord, that he should be with him and not forsake him all the days of his life. And he removed from thence and went towards the south, and he came to Hebron. And Hebron was built at that time, and he dwelt there 2 years. And he went thence into the land to the south of Baalah, and there was a famine in the land. And Abram went into Egypt in the 3rd year of the week, and he dwelt in Egypt 5 years before his wife was torn away from him. Now Tanais in Egypt was at that time built 7 years after Hebron. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh seized Sarai, the wife of Abram, that the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his heart and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Abram was very glorious by reason of possessions in cattle, sheep, and asses, and horses, and camels, and men servants, maid servants, and in silver and gold exceedingly. And Lot also his brother's son was wealthy. And Pharaoh gave back Sarai, the wife of Abram, and he sent him out of the land of Egypt. And he journeyed to the place where he pitched his tent at the beginning, to the place of the altar on Ai in the east, and Bethel on the west. And he blessed the Lord his God, who had brought him back in peace. And it came to pass in the 41st Jubilee, in the 3rd year of the 1st week, that he returned to his place, and offered thereon a burnt sacrifice, and called on the name of the Lord, and said, Thou, the Most High God, art my God forever and ever. And in the 4th year of this week, Lot parted from him, and Lot dwelt in Sodom, and the men of Sodom were sinners exceedingly. And it grieved him in his heart that his brother's son had parted from him, for he had no children. In that year when Lot was taken captive, the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot had parted from him, in the 4th year of this week, Lift up thine eyes from the place where thou art dwelling, northward and southward and westward and eastward. For all the land which thou seest I will give to thee and to thy seed forever, and will make thy seed as the sand of the sea. Though a man may number the dust of the earth, yet thy seed shall not be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and the breadth of it, and see it all, for to thy seed will I give it. And Abram went to Hebron and dwelt there. And in this year Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Amphirel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Salasar, and Tergal, king of the nations, and Turgal, king of the nations, and slew the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Sodom fled, and many fell through wounds in the vale of Siddim by the salt sea. And they took captive Sodom and Adam and Zeboim, and they took captive Lot also, the son of Abram's brother, and all his possessions, and they went to Dan. And one who had escaped came and told Abram that his brother's son had been taken captive. And Abram armed his household servants. For Abram and for his seed, a tenth of the firstfruits to the Lord, and the Lord ordained it as an ordinance forever that they should give it to the priests who served before him, that they should possess it forever. Okay, there's something missing in translation, I guess. Verse 26. And to this law there is no limit of days, for he had ordained it for the generations forever. Is that the same thing? Yeah. That they should give to the Lord the tenth of everything, of the seed, and of the wine, and of the oil, and of the cattle, and of the sheep. And he gave it unto his priests to eat and to drink with joy before him. And the king of Sodom came to him and bowed himself before him and said, Our Lord Abram, give unto us the souls which thou hast rescued, and let the booty be thine. And Abram said unto him, I lift up my hands to the Most High God, that from a thread to a shoe latchet I shall not take aught that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich, save only what the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshol, and Mamre. These shall take their portion.
Jubilees chapter 14. And after these things, in the fourth year of this week, on the new moon of the third month, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a dream, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy defender, and thy reward will be exceeding great. And he said, Lord, Lord, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go hence childless? And the son of Mesech, the son of my handmaid, is the Damasek Eleazar. He will be my heir, and to me thou hast given no seed. And he said unto him, This man will not be thy heir, but one that will come out of thine own bowels, he will be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad, and said unto him, Look toward heaven, and number the stars, if thou art able to number them. And he looked toward heaven, and beheld the stars, and he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and it was counted to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give thee the land of the Chaldees, to possess it forever. And I will be God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. And he said, Lord, Lord, whereby shall I know what I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years, and a goat of 3 years, and a sheep of 3 years, and a turtle dove, and a pigeon. And he took all these in the middle of the month, and he dwelt at the oak of Mamre, which is near Hebron. And he built there an altar, and sacrificed all these. And he poured their blood upon the altar, and divided them in the midst, and laid them over against each other. But the birds divided he not. And the birds came down upon the pieces, and Abram drove them away. He did not suffer the birds to touch them. And it came to pass, when the sun had set, that an ecstasy fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And it was said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in this land, that is not theirs, and they shall bring them into bondage, and afflict them 400 years. And the nation also, to whom they will be in bondage, will I judge, and after that they shall come forth thence with much substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, and be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall return hither, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And he awoke from his sleep, and he arose, and the sun had set, and there was a flame. And behold, a furnace was smoking, and a flame of fire passed between the pieces. And on that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, To thy seed will I give this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Perizzites, and the Rephaim, the Phecharites, and the Hivites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. And the day passed, and Abram offered the pieces and the birds, and their fruit offerings, and their drink offerings, and the fire devoured them. And on that day we made a covenant with Abram, according as we had covenanted with Noah in this month. And Abram renewed the festival and ordinance for himself forever. And Abram rejoiced, and made all these things known to Sarai his wife. And he believed that he would have seed, but she did not bear. And Sarai advised her husband Abram, and said unto him, Go in unto Hagar, my Egyptian maid. It may be that I shall build up seed unto thee by her. And Abram hearkened unto the voice of Sarai his wife, and said unto her, Do so. And Sarai took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, and gave her to Abram, her husband, to be his wife. And he went in unto her, and she conceived and bare him a son. And he called his name Ishmael in the 5th year of this week. And this was the 86th year in the life of Abram.
Chapter 15. And in the 5th year of the 4th week of this Jubilee, in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month, Abram celebrated the feast of the first fruits of the grain harvest, and he offered new offerings on the altar, the first fruits of the produce unto the Lord, an heifer, a goat, and a sheep on the altar as a burnt sacrifice unto the Lord. Their fruit offerings and their drink offerings he offered upon the altar with frankincense. And the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am God Almighty, approve thyself before me, and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him and said, Behold, my ordinance is with thee, and thou wilt be the father of many nations. Neither will thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name from henceforth, even forever, shall be Abraham. For the father of many nations have I made thee. And I shall make thee very great, and I shall make thee unto thee nations, and kings will come forth from thee. And I shall establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee, throughout their generations, for an eternal covenant, so that I may be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. And I shall give to thee and to thy seed after thee the land where thou hast been a sojourner, the land of Canaan, and thou mayst possess it forever, and I shall be their God. And the Lord said unto Abraham, And as for thee, do thou keep my covenant, thou and thy seed after thee, and circumcise ye every male among you, and circumcise your foreskins, and it will be a token of an eternal covenant between me and you. And the child on the 8th day you will circumcise, every male throughout your generations, him that is born in the house, or whom you have bought with money from any stranger, whom you have acquired, who is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house will surely be circumcised, and those whom thou hast bought with money will be circumcised, and my covenant will be in your flesh for an eternal ordinance. And the uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin on the 8th day, that soul will be cut off from his people, for he hath broken my covenant. And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai thy wife, her name will no more be called Sarai, but Sarah will be her name. And I shall bless her and give thee a son by her, and I shall bless him, and he will become a nation, and kings of nations will proceed from him. And Abraham fell on his face and rejoiced, and said in his heart, Shall a son be born to him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bring forth? And Abraham said unto God, Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Yea, and Sarah also will bear thee a son, and thou wilt call his name Isaac, and I shall establish my covenant with him, an everlasting covenant, and for his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, also have I heard thee, and behold, I shall bless him, and make him great, and multiply him exceedingly. And he will beget 12 princes, and I shall make him a great nation. But my covenant shall I establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to thee in these days, in the next year. And he left off speaking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham did according as God had said unto him, and he took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and whom he had bought with his money, every male in his house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin. And on the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and all the men of his house, and those born in the house, and all those whom he had bought with money from the children of the stranger were circumcised with him. This law is for all the generations forever, and there is no circumcision of the days, and no omission of one day out of the 8 days, for it is an eternal ordinance, ordained and written on the heavenly tablets. And every the one that is born, the flesh of whose foreskin is not circumcised on the 8th day, belongeth not to the children of the covenant which the Lord made with Abraham, but to the children of destruction. Nor is there moreover any sign on him that he is the Lord's, but he is destined to be destroyed and slain from the earth, and to be rooted out of the earth, for he hath broken the covenant of the Lord our God. For all the angels of the presence and all the angels of sanctification have been so created from the day of their creation. And before the angels of the presence and the angels of sanctification, he has sanctified Israel, that they should be with him and his holy angels. And do thou command the children of Israel, and let them observe the sign of this covenant for their generations as an eternal ordinance, and they will not be rooted out of the land. For the command is ordained for a covenant, that they should observe it forever among all the children of Israel. For Ishmael and his sons and his brothers and Esau, the Lord did not cause to approach him, and he chose them not because they are the children of Abraham, because he knew them, but he chose Israel to be his people. And he sanctified it and gathered it from amongst all the children of men. For there are many nations and many peoples, and all are his, and over all hath he placed spirits in authority to lead them astray from him. But over Israel he did not appoint any angel or spirit, for he alone is their ruler, and he will preserve them and require them at the hand of his angels and his spirits, and at the hand of all his powers, in order that he may preserve them and bless them, and that they may be his, and he may be theirs from henceforth forever. And now I announce unto thee that the children of Israel will not keep true to this ordinance, and they will not circumcise their sons according to all this law, for in the flesh of their circumcision they will omit the circumcision of their sons. And all of them, sons of Beliar, will leave their sons uncircumcised as they were born. And there will be great wrath from the Lord against the children of Israel, because they have forsaken his covenant and turned aside from his word, and provoked and blasphemed, inasmuch as they do not observe the ordinance of this law, for they have treated their members like the Gentiles, so that they may be removed and rooted out of the land. And there will no more be pardon or forgiveness unto them, so that there should be forgiveness and pardon for all the sin of this eternal error.
Or okay. Let's go back to 11. What do you have out of this?
They started to have wars with each other
And drink the blood of flesh.
and drink blood. And then they started worshiping idols.
Yep. Now that's interesting the way that's worded too. Right?
Mhm.
What verse is that?
The idols?
Yeah, talking about that. The
Wait.
3. Verse 3. They made for themselves molten images, and they worship each the idol, the molten image which they had made for themselves.
Here it is.
Yeah, verse 3.
Verse 3.
And began to make graven images into unclean simulacra, which is what?
What is simulacra?
It's the plural of simulacrum, an image or representation of someone or something. An unsatisfactory imitation or substitute. Well, there you go.
Hence the word simulation.
Same root.
Same root.
Yep. Oops, that's not what we're reading. There we go. So that, yep, very interesting. Made an image into themselves. Molten image to themselves. Yeah. Okay. So that. Go ahead.
Going farther, you notice the birds that were pretty much chiefly going after the seeds? Ravens.
That's weird. You guys got some combined weird thing going on between your mics.
Not me.
Only when Glennis is on.
Really?
Sounds like dribbling water or something.
Something like that.
Feeds on itself like Jimi Hendrix's guitar. Who knows? Electronic microphones are odd.
Okay, Jimmy, thanks.
Okay, so interesting too. Abram chases the birds away. The ravens.
The ravens.
Hey, do you think that he was using the loud yelling and stuff that maybe got passed down to the 12 boys of Jacob?
Possibly. Roaring like Judah. Like we read in Jasher. Okay, let's go to 12 here. And he puts out this big petition to his dad, to Terah. Why are you worshiping idols? And then it goes into what happened to the idols.
He burns them up.
Now, that's different than what Jasher says. Jasher says he chopped them up with an axe. And then when they said, "What'd you do to our idols?" He said, "Well, I gave him offerings." And then the big one was so upset, he chopped up all the little ones.
Maybe he did both. 2 different times. It's interesting. Okay.
But in both books, there's some fire involved.
Fire?
Yeah, I think.
I don't remember the fire from Jasher. Doesn't mean it's not there. It means I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Anything else do we have in 12? We have these prayers that they're making with him talking to talking to God, Abram. And he's getting this in 23, this first messianic promise. Right? Through your seed, all the earth, all the families of the earth will be blessed. First one to Abraham. Abram.
But did you notice at the beginning of that in verse 22, God said, "Look, get up from your country and then go to the land. I'm going to show you this land and I will bless thee." But if he didn't get up and go to the land, none of that would have come, right? He had to obey God to begin with.
Do we have that
But
now?
God knew it. So then, go ahead. So,
I'm just asking. Do we have that now?
I think so. I think he tells certain people to do things and then they're like, but, like, it doesn't make any sense. But then later on, you find out why. And
They also don't do it.
well,
There's
some people don't do it. And
People
then
don't do it.
bad things happen.
Truth. Bernad. Okay. Okay. So
Okay, we also have in here just a few verses down.
Mhm.
Once again, it's saying that Hebrew was the original language.
I don't read the translation like that. I see you wrote it in Hebrew. But isn't this post-Babel?
It says, "And I began to speak with him in Hebrew in the tongue of the creation."
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's that reference you were looking for when we were reading Jasher. Okay. Anything else for 12? Other than he's told, when you get out, take Lot with you. Okay, let's go to 13. And in chapter 13, we have more of the promise. And it really kind of doesn't give us much information about his trip into Egypt like Jasher does. Jasher has a lot more details on that. Although it does say Pharaoh and his house were plagued with great plagues because of Sarai. It says he was there 5 years. I don't think it gives a real timeline in Scripture or Jasher. I don't know about the other books. The other writings. All right, what else? What else do we have here?
It shows him giving service to the Most High on the true New Year's Day.
Yep. And also, too, let's see, where was it? It also talks about the War of the Valley, the kings of the valley, and his going in and rescuing Lot, although it's not worded quite much like that.
And the name of Nimrod changed in here.
To
Amraphel.
Okay.
Okay, and some of the stuff that you thought there was like something missing, Lynn, when they're talking about him and what he gave 10% to, that was actually to what's referred to later, like I think in Hebrews, what is it? Melchizedek,
Melchizedek.
which is Shem.
Well, and he armed his servants, and then it skips, like there's a bunch of missing text. Then it skips over in 25 for Abraham and his seed. So there's something missing there.
Okay, that's on this one.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
What's missing?
If we knew that, there wouldn't be a bunch of periods in there.
No, I want to know what's missing.
Okay, so
Okay, and also when it's talking about when he gave it to Melchizedek, also then Melchizedek gave it to his priests. You've also got priests in there, but Melchizedek is like the high priest. So, but there is already priests under him.
that feedback is really weird. Okay, that. So let's go to 14 here. Okay, so this is where he is told that Eleazar is not going to be the heir of everything he has. And it's also prophesied that his descendants are going to be taken captive, right? Held in captivity.
For 400 years.
We also have an indicator in here for when Shavuot is. It's the
Yes.
middle, it's the middle of the third month. And it kind of alleviates how some people start their counts differently after Passover.
The 50 days.
It's right here. It's right here. It's going to be the middle day of the third month. You count backwards 50 days, and that's when you know when you start your counting towards the Pentecost.
So then this is prophesied to all the peoples that are going to come out of Egypt with them. But then at the end of the chapter, we have Sarai saying, this is what it must be meant by God saying that, for you to take my handmaid. In that, so Abram listens, right? What does it say? He hearkened unto the voice of his wife. But we also have, when that phrase is used, it's usually not connected to something good, because then we also have him telling Adam, because thou hast hearkened to the voice of thy wife. Seriously, how many men out there are going to be strong enough if their wife says, you know what, I'm pretty sure God wants you to copulate with this young servant we have? How many are going to be strong enough to say, no, woman, he means by you? Instead of going, well, okay, if you insist. You were going to say something, Glenna?
Yes, but then he was also instructed to hearken to Sarah's voice and what she said when she wanted Hagar and Ishmael to leave because of the mocking that was going on. She felt her son was threatened by Ishmael and basically fearing there was going to be another Cain and Abel situation.
Right.
Frankly.
You were going to say something, Lynn? No? Oh, okay. Let's go to 15. That. So in this one, he clarifies what he meant and says, now everybody gets to get circumcised. And then I don't have any, I got a note on 26, which is pretty far down there. So if you got something before that, and I guess kind of on 26, it gets clarified a bit later. But it says, everyone that is born, the flesh of whose foreskin is not circumcised on the 8th day, belongs not to the children of the covenant, which the Lord made with Abram, but to the children of destruction. Nor is there, moreover, any sign on him that he is the Lord's, but he is destined to be destroyed and slain from the earth and rooted out of the earth, for he has broken the covenant of the Lord our God. But in canonized scripture, they didn't go into the Holy Land until everybody was circumcised, because none of them were circumcised. That's pretty much past the 8th day, I would think.
Yeah.
So I hear footsteps. There's people doing laundry behind me. Okay. So this goes on, and it keeps saying they're not going to keep the ordinance over and over. He knew this from long before, which is why Yeshua, Jesus, salvation was predestinated from before we were. Because he knew all this would come to pass. And we would mess it up. Whoever we are. Nothing? Anybody? Come on. Okay. That you guys are silent now. What's going on?
We're thinking about circumcision. So seriously,
You're muted.
For those who are not, what happens is their heart becomes circumcised. But what comes with the heart, the flesh will follow.
That's the way I look at it. I haven't met anybody yet that has gone through that, been through that I know of. Of course, I don't go around saying, let's see the proof in your flesh. No thanks.
it's not a topical conversation.
Yeah. I don't know.
Even when you're taking your baby boy, you just, gotta take him to be circumcised. That's it. no discussion. Nothing.
No. But it's not a big topic around here, I can tell you that. So, any other observations from Jubilees 11 through 15?
Well, I made an observation. I think here and there sprinkled in these things about the Gentiles going to be removed because they're not circumcising. You know what I mean? It just sprinkled here and there. It seems like what you were saying when we were studying on Saturday, that it's like the Gentiles,
That there's tradition that got mingled in there somehow?
Yeah, I kind of feel like there is a little bit of that in there, in here.
I think that it's across everything we have access to.
But it also means those that are not in covenant. Because like if you're in covenant with him, you're grafted in. You're no longer a Gentile. You are grafted into Israel.
But a lot of us are probably descendants of the 10 lost tribes anyway. So,
Well, you've looked at that chart of grandparents, right? So each of us has 4 grandparents, 8 great grandparents, 16 great great grandparents, 32 great great grandparents, great, right? And it's exponential like that. And it's not that far back. It takes, over 4,000 people to have made us as individuals, to have contributed to our being here.
Yeah, and people don't realize that until they start tracking their family tree. And they're like going, oh my gosh.
How were this many people alive before? I'm glad they weren't at the reunion. It's a lot of people. Okay, well, let's let everybody get to dinner, or their family dinner. Don't do what they were doing earlier in the study, where people are eating people. Don't do that.
do that.
It's bad.
Bad on a lot of levels.
Yes, it is. Anyways, thank you for reading, Glenna. Thank you for reading, Lynn. Everybody, thank you for joining us. And I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful evening. And just be grateful, give thanks, because Abba wants you to be his son or daughter through his son. It's an awesome free gift. Accept it. Trust me, it is. It's the best thing you'll ever get.
For sure.
Okay. I love you all. We'll talk soon. Bye.